tank and drain field. Generally, you don't even see this in a yard. You may see a septic tank lid sort of near the ground surface or a riser, but everything else is underground, frequently out of sight and out of mind. The other type of systems that we see are alternative septic systems. Generally, they're found in areas with high seasonal water tables. Think Chincoteague for sure, the northwestern portion of Accomack County, and then pockets here and there throughout both Accomack and Northampton counties as well. The difference there is that, generally speaking, conventional systems rely on the in situ soils to treat the effluent prior to it getting to the groundwater. Essentially, those soils have minerals and such in them that allows the bacteria to be treated and cleaned up before it gets to the groundwater. Where the groundwater is at or near the ground surface, you can't use those soils to have that sort of treatment. So those alternative systems rely on pre-treatment, various technologies to treat the water prior to it getting dispersed into the ground and ultimately the groundwater. So certainly a much higher cost on the alternative systems than conventional systems. And in Virginia here, we do have what's called a repair waiver. So if somebody's system fails and they have a conventional system, they can sign a waiver and we will allow them to repair it with a conventional system. And that's something that, is frequently taken advantage of so that, homeowners aren't stuck with that huge cost of an alternative septic system.
John, how many waivers is a Virginian eligible for?
What was the question?
How many waivers is a Virginian? How many can they have?
So for a repair waiver, you can repair, you are eligible for a repair waiver as long as you own the home. Once you sell that home, the repair waiver becomes null and void, and the person purchasing the home is required to meet whatever the standard is
At that moment.
So that would mean that an alternative system would have to be installed that met whatever the prescriptive requirements are in the regulations, which vary depending on how far off the groundwater table you're able to put your dispersal of the sewage.
And does that apply also to heirs of property?
It does not. The waiver does. There's certain circumstances for a repair waiver that that do carry, and that's one of them. And that can be found. The rest of them can be found, or really it's easier if you just want to call the health department. We can tell you all about where it transfers and doesn't. We also have what's called a voluntary upgrade waiver in Virginia, which allows somebody to put in a system that is better than what they currently have, but maybe doesn't quite meet the entire letter of the regulations. So we can waive treatment and or pressure dosing requirements for a system that didn't previously have those. And that waiver is different than the repair waiver in that it will last as long as the system lasts. So if the system isn't failing, that transfers from property owner to property owner. So that's kind of two unique things here. A lot of states don't have those kind of alternatives for folks to continue to not be hit super hard financially. And we do actually in here on the Eastern Shore, we end up with more voluntary upgrade waivers than anywhere else in the state of Virginia by quite a large margin, actually.
How many different types